If you're just connecting with us, welcome. This is our fourth in a series of initial four counselor lunch and learns open to all high school counselors. And our topic today is tracking graduation pathways. We do have a poll question that we are going to pose to the group. So when that pops up on your screen, if you could answer that. And then we have two experts who are fellow counselors who are going to join and tell us a little bit about how they track the pathways at their school. And then the last part of our meeting, we can engage in some group conversation about how your school is doing things or the struggles that you are having with keeping those pathways organized, because there's a lot of things to keep on a document.
I am not sure why the poll function isn't working, but if you want to have people respond in the chat, I think that would be helpful.
Oh, sure. So, okay, no poll question. So if you could, in the chat, tell us how you track pathways at your school. And that may be the ways that I have heard. Some are Excel spreadsheets or Google Sheets. Some have said Navions. Some have said standards for success. Some have said we aren't sure yet. Oh, there it is. Okay, maybe there is a poll.
There is a poll.
This is our first poll, so we're trying polling out. Or if you don't use any of those three methods, other, and then I'll probably ask how it is that you do that. So I might pick on you, especially if you choose other.
When you say track, do you mean like the documentation or the attainment of it?
I'm thinking, how do you document that where a student's progress is, or if your principal asked where a particular student was, or if a parent called and said, how's my kid doing with graduation? What do you use to kind of see where they're at? But that's a great question too, and something that we could talk about if we have time. Okay. Looks like we got quite a few responses. And we will come back to those in just a minute. So I think what we'll start off with, if this is your first time joining us for a lunch and learn, we use the first 20 minutes for an expert to share their experiences on the topic, and then the last 40 minutes for group discussion and question and answer, and really just big networking space. And if you have colleagues who aren't able to join today, just know that we'll be recording, and we'll send you the recording that you can share with your coworkers and others who weren't able to log on live. So our first, Sue, would you mind maybe going first, and then Kyra, I'll have you follow her up. Sue Offenberg is a counselor at Greensburg. She and I engaged in this conversation in a meeting weeks ago. And I think that's when I first thought this would be something that counselors would like to chat about together. So Sue, you're welcome to share your screen.
Okay, now here goes my technology skills. Let's see if I can do this. Ah, am I good? No?
I still see you in the group.
You still see me? Okay. All right. Let me find my, hang on a second. Maybe I should have gone last. How about now? No? Ah.
Sometimes there's the share screen button down at the bottom is a green button.
No, and I think I'm clicking out of order. Hang on, folks. I apologize.
Laura, you want to maybe have Kyra go?
Sure. Yeah, that's a good idea. Kyra, go ahead and share your screen and we'll have Sue follow you up.
Okay.
Kyra Rhodes from Seeger.
Okay, is it working?
I can see it, yes.
Okay, perfect.
Good.
So this is the kind of one-page form that we use. Let me try and get it all in one box here so you can see it all. The one-page form that we use to share what programs or what pathway options we have for our students here at Seeger. So the top box is obviously the high school diploma, allows the students to check which one. If they're viewing this as a Google Doc, they can click on the blue highlighted items to view the specific diploma track. The employability skills section is something that we require at Seeger specifically. All students have to do what's called Seeger interview or senior interviews, which I will discuss in a minute as well. And then box 3 has all of our post-secondary readiness competency options. So these are just Seeger specific options that we have available. I actually updated this yesterday with the NLPS career pathway options. And so we are obviously offering all of the Perkins CTE options, but I try and keep it updated with the most up-to-date language so that when our 8th graders are using this tool, it's relevant to them as well. This is also a great tool for our special ed meetings. Our parents and the teachers use this a lot to kind of check what their student has or what kind of plan the student wants as well.
Do you do you send those home or do you collect them?
So we don't collect these. This is just like a personal tool for the students and families.
Okay.
To use. Since it's a Google document, they have access to the link to print it if they want to, or they can pick them up in our office. And obviously at every special ed meeting, it's shared and passed out. Yeah.
So students use this as their, like when they're trying to learn about the buckets and what's required. And so this would be the
Yes.
resource you would share with the student. Like, hey, on our website, we have the link to the pathway options
Yes.
for
So
new students.
yes, and the like 8th grade college and preparing for college and careers. I think it's kind of confusing to talk about the different pathway options. And so this kind of lays it out like you have to do one from each box, and box 1, 2, and 3 really kind of lays it out that way. When discussing our box 2 requirement, the senior portfolio, this is an activity that we have done for, I think we did our 22nd year this year. So we've been doing it for 22 years, and every senior is required to do it and has been required to do it for 22 years to graduate. So we didn't really change anything. It is a formal senior interview process where they create with their English teacher a resume, cover letter, and fill out a mock employment application. And so the English teachers review those with the students and make sure they're accurate and grammatically correct and really nice looking. And then we complete a 20-minute interview with professionals from the community come in. And so it's a 15-minute interview and then a 5-minute feedback session with that person. So the seniors, their requirement is to create this portfolio, and everything on this checklist is required from the portfolio. And we've actually kind of turned this into a senior day at the end of, after their senior interviews, then they meet with Herf Jones to do cap and gown stuff. Then they do their bus to a different location for their large group picture. And in the evening, we do a FAFSA completion workshop for parents and families. So it's just always the first Thursday of November. It has been for years and years and years. And so it works well, at least in our community, because, you know, we have the students of parents that started senior interviews going through now. So.
Oh, that's awesome. This was a great thing to already have in place when the pathways came out. Like, looks
Yeah.
like we're good.
Yep, it is definitely beneficial, that's for sure.
And then do you use the form that you have up right now? Do you use that as your like documentation for that bucket?
We do not. We put their senior interview grade on a section in Harmony. We use our student information system as Harmony. And so when we check that it is a project-based activity, we put in senior interview and then the grade that they received on that senior interview. So the students take home the portfolio, we give them a folder to keep it all nice. And the hope is that they, use that in college or use that after they graduate and they already have a great template for a resume and a cover letter ready to go.
Okay, so they get a grade in
Yes,
the
they get a
book.
grade on it. Yep.
Wow. Okay, that's
Yep.
great.
And then the last tool that I use is called, there we go, is this is I call it the Diploma Types Worksheet. And so this is what every staff member in the building has access to see, we have the student's name in the left-hand column. I list their diploma type. We are an early college school, so whether they'll be earning the STGEC. And then right now, we have the math in English, ISTEP, pass or do not pass. If they don't pass, what their grad pathway is, and if they complete. So this way I can easily sort, who hasn't completed and just make sure that I look at their schedule quickly, that they have something that is going to complete it. And that way the entire staff is on the same page as to who needs what, who's still working towards what. So it's just great for people, working on the diplomas or special ed, working to create the grad plan for their students, et cetera.
So your whole staff has view access, I assume?
View it, correct, view access.
Who in the building gets edit access for you guys?
I think
Seems
just
like a
me.
holy grail document, right? Like,
Yeah, I think it's just me, actually. Just me. So I'm the high school counselor in our building, so I'm the one that keeps track of this and makes sure we're on track for graduation. Yeah.
There was a question in the chat. Kyra, are you willing to share this after our session today?
Yeah, so I can share all these links and then you can just go to File, make a copy, and make your own, do whatever you want with them.
Okay.
Mhm.
oh yeah, Lada, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so before we let Kyra pull her screen down, does anybody have any questions for Kyra or the 3 documents that she shared that she uses at Seegerd?
Ira, for the senior day you do, are you in charge of that, or how does that work?
It's our guidance secretary has been here that long, or our student services secretary has been here that long. And so she really has the system down and has the community connections down. We have shared, like her process as how she starts planning for that and what we do before. So I'm willing to share that as well. But it's just really seamless right now because, the employers we're having coming in to interview students are people that have graduated and gone through the process as well. So our office is in charge of it, but she really does most of the legwork on that.
Any other questions for Kyra?
How many seniors do you have?
We have, I think, 107 this year. So we're a small school.
Kyra, this is Sandy Hillman. I just want to give a shout out to you for the senior interview thing. What a big undertaking, but it sounds like it's established as a tradition in your school and really important skill to build with your kids. So kudos to you guys. It's awesome.
Yeah, thank you. It is a great experience, and they're also nervous about it. And then they leave the interview, they're like, that was awesome. I made a connection. So it's really nice.
Yeah, a lot of skills built just in that portfolio process, I bet.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. Okay, well,
Okay.
I guess if you want to unshare your screen and we'll see if Sue,
Okay, we're going to try this again.
Okay.
You talk about the expert. No, there's no expert in technology. All right, let's see. Aha, how about that?
Yes.
We got it.
Okay,
Hard.
we are a high school that does a lot of color coding, okay? And we use a lot of color coding in our pages to keep track. Every student has a packet, and they are put in binders by cohorts so that it is easy for us to pull those out when we're talking to a parent or talking to the principal. But the first 2 pages are nothing more than what we do to track that bucket 1 with those types of diplomas that the student is after. We actually write the grades in there so that we know. Sometimes we've been known to write grades in according to what year, like freshmen are all green letters and sophomores are all blue. It just depends upon the counselor and how they use that. And then once we get through the first bucket, bucket 2 includes quite a bit of things with our employability skills. We have the students do a self-reflection that will come up here in just a second. But the first step is to target whether they're project-based, service-based, or work-based, and then what the activity is. If it happens to be a sport, for example, we take the team roster. We make a copy for that particular student. We highlight their name. It would already have the date and the team and all the information on it. That comes from our athletic secretary. And we actually put this into the student's packet. So we would use that. If it's a specific course that a student takes, we print the transcript. If it's a work situation, we ask for a verification with pay stubs. Club membership, our assistant principal collects all club membership rosters at different times in the school year, and then we update at the end of each semester. So this is what our students, and we try to hit them off just as soon as we can to fulfill this. This gives you examples of things that we approve, and believe me, that's a work in progress in terms of the different items that would count, whether they're a school activity or an outside of school activity. And we've been known to approve things through our principal that a student would come in and ask that we weren't even aware of what is going on that they're involved in, maybe something new in the community, and he approves that, and we can add that to our list. This is their self-reflection, and they sit down and they try, and they are responsible. When I say try, sometimes it's a trying experience for them to sit down and come up with ideas on where they would be to describe their different activity to fulfill their employability skills. We give them a little bit of a cheat sheet with the idea that, you know, we go through this with the student individually to show them, you know, to think about those things before we hand them the first sheet. But we do all documentation attached to that. And then the next one is just kind of a composite. We check off what diploma, what employability skill, and then we document here for their post-secondary readiness competency. Obviously what is up there right now is for Perkins 4 with the CTE concentrator. It would be different for Perkins 5, and it'll be different again with our next level programs of study. And again, we would take an ASVAB score, we would put it in there, but we would also attach the actual score report to this packet for each student, or an SAT or a ACT. AP classes would be, a transcript would be attached, and then they would also, if they've taken the test, what their score was at that point. Then the last item that we have is we attach a waiver to every student's packet. And the reason for that is we never know when a student might be in that situation. So we want to be prepared that we are ready to fulfill that waiver if it's necessary. And as you can see, we color code them all. So it's become a very useful tool, and we go the step that Kyra gave you the example of. And we also have a spreadsheet that is very similar to what Kyra showed you. And we allow our administration and counselors and our test coordinator, we're one of those lucky folks that has a test coordinator, to have access to that spreadsheet. And that is updated by our 2 counselors. I do not even have access to update that. And by my technology skills, I don't need to have access to that. So that's kind of, we're about paper and pencil, basically, colored sheets. What we do try to do is we would like to go to a computer totally, but we went to a new computer system this school year with, or last year with Skyward. And maybe it's not the expert, but it's the old school. I'd much rather rely upon paper in front of me to answer my question than what goes in that computer and the access that other people may have to delete or change something just by a sheer mistake.
Thank you. So I think there's 2 really great ways you can document those pathways, and done completely different between those 2 schools, right? So Sue, you have, how do you, like, logistically, do you have these sheets in a binder by alphabet? Like, how do you logistically organize?
Yes. So every student has a packet with their student name on the front on this pink sheet. And then every cohort is put together, and there's 3 counselors in our building, but 2 of our counselors service our students with this, and they have actual binders. So if I would walk in either counselor's office, I would see, the class of 2021 and the class of 2022 and on down. So if a student would come in that I know and would ask me a question and the counselor is not there, I know exactly where to go, can pull out their packet, sit down with them and explain it.
And these get updated during student meetings?
They do. We update them every semester. And then what we do for that junior to be senior, we become a little paranoid about credits, the last check, maybe, so to speak, at the end of that junior year. And so in June, before we leave for summer break, we start over with the first 2 pages and do a complete credit check again, so that then is given to the student when we meet with them in August.
And you can catch anything that maybe needs to be tightened
Right.
up for senior year. Yeah, you go. That's good. Great. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Does anybody, you can unmute, you can type a question in the chat, whatever you're most comfortable with. Any questions for either of the 2 presenters that we have?
Laura,
Yes.
I think Summer Runyon is on the call, and
Summer Runyon.
I think she's going to share some stuff.
Oh, yay. Okay.
Hey.
Hi. You're welcome to share your screen or whatever you are prepared, or if we're calling you out, then sorry.
It's all good. It's all good. Let me try to share my screen here. Okay. Hi, friends. I am a Naviance user. For anybody that might have access to Naviance that's on the call today, we've kind of put all of our eggs in that basket in order to try to utilize this system that's available to our kids. In case you didn't know or how to access it, I can walk through it, but we started using a separate sheet, probably similar to what Sue just presented, that we used for bucket 2 and bucket 3, and we would upload it into Naviance. But what we have found that is super useful and actually more informative is the portfolio option that Naviance has. And so we're moving away from that extra step of paper and uploading that into Naviance to use the portfolio for all of the buckets for bucket 2 and bucket 3. And actually we can outline bucket 1 now that we're using the course planner in Naviance. So I'll show you from the admin side. This is our teacher's profile, so I'm not sharing any information that's not okay here. But in case you didn't know how to go to a student profile, you would just click view as a student here, and that would go into what the students see on the Naviance side. And then with that being said, you have to access the portfolio through the student profile. You don't have access to it on the admin side. So when you're in here, ooh, this is gonna get dicey, I can't really see. Over on the right-hand side, you can see there's an About Me tab. You click on About Me, and then it says My Stuff next. I can't see because of the little boxes here for the Zoom call. But once you go into the About Me tab, you'll see My Stuff, and then there'll be an option for Portfolio. And so this is an example of a student portfolio. And what I love about this is that that it will give me all of, sorry, let me move this. This is better. So if you go to About Me, My Stuff, Portfolio. What I love is that Naviance does this for you. It's not something that you have to create or add in or do anything. It just is naturally done. And what is nice is that we've really kind of built these hallmarks in every grade. So we're adding to this portfolio every single year and adding and adding and adding. So it's this kind of comprehensive thing at the end of 4 years. So you can see here, it's got some personal information. It has all that at the top here. Then it goes into, we have all of our students complete career assessments. There's 5 different career assessments that they will complete. And so that is automatically like their results, highlights of the results are included here, and you can kind of see some of the information that would be provided as part of that. These are some of the other ones that students will take. They're just not finished in this example. We have all of our students complete a resume, and it's uploaded into Naviance. You can't see the examples from the portfolio or the actual artifacts, but it does indicate here that they have been completed, and that's what we're using as our documentation. And we know we can go back into their account and access that information. But you can see where it's date saved, or then when they've gone in and updated that information here with the resume. Goal planning, there's a game plan survey that they can take that's outlined here. And then you can see, this is really where the meat of our tracking happens here in the task area. So you can see here, one of our hallmarks that we're trying to embed here is within our PCC class. We do it in 9th grade. We have the students complete a mock interview in that class at the end. And so this indicates where that mock interview is. So they have to create a resume, they have to complete a cover letter. They had to do an interview video this year because of all the COVID stuff. We didn't invite people to come in, they did a video. And so in order to complete that task, then they just uploaded their video. Again, we're trying to make this simple to make sure that our counselors are not getting bogged down in tracking all this stuff. So in Naviance, when you create a task, as long as they upload something, it'll automatically mark it as complete. So we made sure that that was the indicator. So it would automatically just happen without anybody having to go back in and change that. So you can see there's a couple other things that we've added in here, but any task that you can think of, we can put in here as that. So as we go through and add things to their portfolio, it'll just automatically be added there. So we also do a lot of goal setting with them. That will be under this section, included there. And then anytime they are interested in like doing a career search, whether they do that through PCC or with one of our school counselors, we make sure that they log that within their Naviance system. And so then it also will be logged here in their portfolio, this is a lot. Nobody has this many normally, but in this example. So, and then also then log some of the career clusters. If they don't have a specific career they're interested in, they can log the cluster. And then what's nice is that everybody has access to this. So if they start with doing these career clusters based on their career assessments in their PCC class, then our counselors in their sophomore individual planning meeting, then they meet with them and then they can pull these results right up. And there's no loss of information or anything. Everybody has access to that. So, and then just more assessment opportunities to have that information in the portfolio. And then academic planning. This is where our courses will be added in. So we can actually include all the coursework that they've done throughout their time at Northridge High School. So that's what's kind of cool about using that courses feature. They'll have their 4-year plan, any like college coursework that they've done, all of that stuff will be indicated in here, which will be nice once we have some examples of that being included. Test information, so we have that swept over from, we're a Power School user, and so that sweeps over because this is a teacher's profile, like there's nothing here, but there will be for students. And then as we utilize this for our, through what's called eDocs, which is another option or tool within Naviance, we're using eDocs, which will then allow teacher recommendations to go right into here, that they could actually use that as part of their portfolio. And then the colleges they're thinking about right now, that's indicated for all of our 9 through 11 students. And then as the students start applying to colleges, they'll be listed here because that's how students ask us to send transcripts. They'll do that through Naviance. And so then all of that will automatically be logged. And we also log any scholarship that's sent to our school is logged into Naviance as well. So if a kid would apply for that, or get that, we can add that to their portfolio. So it's pretty awesome that all of this stuff kind of just happens naturally, and it really takes the burden of tracking all of this information off of our counselors and let the computer do the work. In addition to this, we do use what we call a Go Green spreadsheet, and I think both the other presenters probably, it's something similar where we're just trying to track separately. So we know where we're going. We know who we might have to follow up with, things like that, or that they need to add stuff to their Naviance account. We kind of keep that on the side as an additional tracker, and we color code it. Go Green is once they're green, they're good to go. And then we move forward, but that was super quick. Again, I didn't really introduce myself. My name's Summer Runyon. I'm a school counselor at Northridge High School. I'm the College and Career Programs Coordinator. We have about 1,400 students in our high school. We're up in Northern Indiana, so.
Thank you. I think, Sandy, were there a couple of questions about Summer's Naviance?
Yes. One of the questions had to do with how, if your school was, your system you're using was compatible with Naviance, and I think you said that you use PowerSchool, and this person said Naviance was just bought by PowerSchool. So it sounds like they're all hooking up, lining up together. So
Yeah, that was a big announcement this week for the whole PowerSchool kind of marriage. So I'm excited because I'm a PowerSchool user, but I don't know how excited I would be if I wasn't. So hopefully they'll keep everything moving towards everyone being able to use it.
And another question, do you guys use the resume feature with Naviance?
We do. We use that resume feature pretty religiously. And we use that in our PCC as freshmen. And then we're just trying to get our junior English teachers to also utilize it. You know, we're busting down barriers. We're trying to stop working in silos. And we had our English teachers doing a fabulous job their junior year of updating resumes or building them. And we said, hey, we're doing this as freshmen. Why don't we try to update? And so we're trying to circle the wagons and get that done. So it's more of an updating situation than it is actually building a brand new one. So that way the most up-to-date one is in Naviance their senior year, especially as our counselors are meeting with them in those senior meetings.
Yeah. Another one, Summer, was people were wondering, is there any way you can capture what you showed in a PDF, and if you send it to us, we can send it out to the attendees?
Yep, I sure can.
Okay, that'd be great. And then one other thing, sound like a lot of your stuff was happening in PCC in 9th grade. So the question is, what happens, how do you update all that out and keep that up to date after 9th grade?
Yeah, we have a ton of stuff that does happen in PCC, but then everything that the school counselors do after the fact. So every time we meet with them, we will assign a task to meet with us. And so then that's indicated there. And depending on what the meeting would be about or how the things are going to be complete, then that would be logged in through that tasks section that I highlighted. And so then you could see the ongoing kind of meetings throughout the 4 years. We've also started to embed everything. We use an SRT. So we have, in a normal schedule, in a normal year, we would have 2 SRTs throughout a regular week. And so our SRT teachers are also utilizing Naviance and will help us complete tasks within SRT. So there'd be multitude of different opportunities for kids to complete tasks in there.
Okay, Laura, that's all that's in the chat.
Okay, any questions for Summer?
Yes, I do. This is Jolynn Badger at Shelbyville High School. Summer, we have Naviance. We also have PowerSchool, and so, and I was just checking a demo on a student. So I was just trying to figure out how when they're completing things in Naviance, though, as far as like meeting box 1, 2, and all of those, it's not necessarily tracking. If I'm following you right, it's just that is their full portfolio in there. So when you were talking about the, are they in green? Are you, and that, I guess 2 questions. Are you using that now? There's a new PowerSchool option to track the pathways, and are you going to be utilizing that? And then, because I guess I haven't found Naviance to be really good about pulling out reports. I don't know. It seems cumbersome compared to PowerSchool. And so I was looking at, the PowerSchool way to, track the pathways. And I don't know, I feel like we're kind of like a combination of all 3 presenters, because we have some on paper, we have, some in Naviance, some in PowerSchool, and everybody's trying to figure out how to streamline it so that it is the most easiest way for kids and schools to track, because it's our sophomore group, people. It's a little crazy.
We do use, I would say we certainly use kind of a combination of both PowerSchool and Naviance. Naviance would be kind of our artifact keeper that we would use, but I do use the reporting features in Naviance quite frequently. So and that's why I feel like that task component, or that assigning the task to complete whatever it is. So if it's complete your, you know, it could be very specific to like complete your bucket to
Employment
indicator.
verification.
Yeah, or whatever.
Okay.
And you could put that in there and then run a report on that. Then that tells me who did it and who did not. And that could be my tracker. We tried to do that earlier on and felt like it just wasn't working. I don't know if our kids just were too new to Naviance, that they hadn't really got the hang of things. That's why we used that separate Go Green sheet that was just a regular tracker. But I am really interested to learn more about the Power School tracking and utilize that. And I'm hoping that there might be some more integration with that now that Power School and Naviance are working closer. So
yeah, that was my goal too, because I thought, because I like the kids all going to Naviance, because if they just have a one-stop shop kind of place, then I think that's really important, and we want them going in there more. And I'm like you, we have it in PCC as freshmen, but I feel like they don't touch it until their senior year again sometimes. And so we're really trying to embed that into sophomore and junior English classes to see if that helps them keep their resume up to date, and some of the other tasks, like you said. Because for right now, like when they do like an employment verification form and have somebody sign off on that, we are uploading that into Naviance for them. But you're saying you could just make it a task and have them upload it, and then it would go green or whatever. Okay.
Yep. And we've really tried to move away from like making a check mark or checking it off, and having them do something that will automatically make that happen, so we don't have to then track that.
Okay.
And then Summer, it sounds like you are dispersing from the load of your counseling staff. You're dispersing some of this load onto students and SRT supervising teachers, or so they are becoming more familiar with the tasks that students need to do. And then in those advisory / SRT periods, those teachers are versed on, hey, you updated your resume, hey, you need to upload your employment verification. And so those people, it sounds like, are pulling a little bit of that stuff off of the counselor. Is that?
Yeah, we really have tried to use that as like our SRT teachers as an extension of some of our work, for sure. We have really tried to make it easy on them by utilizing videos and presentations. So it's not like they have to be incredibly knowledgeable, because we want to make sure that everyone's still getting consistent, concise information. So we've tried to utilize videos and in all of our presentations. So it's almost like, hey, teachers, you really just have to push play, but make sure that they complete this task and walk them through that process. So we know our teachers are overwhelmed and overworked as much as we are. So we don't want to put too much more on their plate, but definitely is a team effort here.
You know, there's discussion in the chat about the cost of Naviance. And I know some schools, there's the initial purchase, and then I think there's probably an annual update. But some schools, I think, have built that into student fees that students are charged. So it's not, you know, a pot of money that comes out of some school account somewhere. And it's definitely an educational tool that if the kids should use and are expected to use, then paying a fee for it is, I think, reasonable. Sometimes you got to convince your school board that that's a reasonable thing to ask. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think Naviance could be an entire hour lunch and learn or more. If you use it, if you don't use it, why you should, why it's frustrating. When you get kids on it and are successful on it, what that looks like when you're struggling to get kids and teachers to get on it. That's just such a big conversation. But Summer, your school district, everybody is using it, right? You guys are committed and in.
We are.
Yeah.
We are, and we're part of a collaboration up here in Elkhart County that actually our whole entire county kind of committed to using Naviance because we have such a transient population within our county. And so we were all trying to use that in our school. It's gone better in some school systems than others. I don't know that it will continue that way, but we're all trying to do stuff. And it's nice to have kind of a work team up here working together, troubleshooting things, trying new things, figuring out what works and what doesn't. So we are trying to utilize that. I will also say, like, I can send the link to Laura or Sandy, but there is on Thursday a shameless plug for a webinar that's happening with Naviance if you're a Naviance user, and it's specific to Indiana and on graduation pathways. And so you might see me again as a panelist on that, along with one of my colleagues up here, Sarah Flagg, and Wendy from Ben Davis will also be presenting. So that might be a cool webinar if you're interested in learning more. I can send the link for that.
Summer, is that just for people who are current Naviance users or for anybody?
I think anybody can attend that webinar, and it's free. So
Wow. Yeah, we can spread that link maybe along with that PDF to the group in our follow-up email, if you don't mind. Could you talk just for it? We've got 12 minutes, just so everybody kind of knows where we're at with time. Could you mention a little bit about how you like verify? So students, and I do not have a tremendous amount of Naviance familiarity, but when a student uploads the task, so like if I'm using the tasks as my pathway check sheet so that I don't have to do all the documenting, who verifies the student did it well, did it to your school's expectation? You know,
we've had I've trained our support staff here in our office to go in and make sure that things are going in well, or that are viewable, that can go in and double check some of that stuff. But I would say our counselors are also, when they do have them captured in their individual meetings or their planning meetings for the year, they go back and we have kind of a checklist that we're going through and making sure that everything is up to date or that everything came through okay. But we're also using our SRT teachers as an extra checkpoint to go in and say, hey, can you make sure that everybody in your class completed this? Or if they didn't complete it and we see that through running a report, then we can shoot it back to the SRT teachers and say, hey, can you make sure they must have been absent on this day or whatever.
Right. So you have that follow-up, and it's not just your counselors.
Right.
I think like the key to what you're saying, in addition to using a program that you guys have already committed to, which not everybody is using, but the takeaway, even if you aren't an Naviance user, might be, how can we utilize our whole staff, right? The whole staff, and get everybody involved in this project, because this documenting of all of these buckets for all of these students, especially if you are in a bigger school, sometimes will require some creativity. So that's another great point. Any other questions for Summer? I was kind of curious, somebody in the chat said they are using Standards for Success. Would you be willing to, if you're still here, if anybody's using Standards for Success and could tell us what it is?
We
and
have
how it
just started
helps?
using that, but I actually reached out to Lori, who said she loves it because we are trying to figure it out. So right now we're doing multiple checks just to make sure we're getting all our checks marked. And so it basically is a tracking system that goes through the different pathways. And if Lori's still on here, it'd be great if she's can give us even more detail than that.
Sure, I'd be happy to do that. I think we jumped on board with Standards for Success about a year ago, and I have already used the general system for our evaluations, and so it was an add-on for us. It does have a price just like Naviance. However, we decided to just pay for it for our juniors and our seniors, which made it much more affordable than paying per student for all 4 grade levels. But it is primarily tracking. And the great thing about Standards for Success, we actually use Naviance too. So it's far more limited than what you do in Naviance. I think Naviance is very similar to Indiana Career Explorer and does all of those things and then can pull from your school information system. Really all Standards for Success does, but does beautifully, is pull your data from your school information system. And in our case, it is PowerSchool. And it actually builds the sheet that you are looking at. You know, I think Sue said go green, or Summer did, I don't remember which. But some of those sheets that you saw shared earlier, Standards for Success has those sheets electronically. And for the most part, it is pulling that data from your school information system. There are a few things it does. For example, bucket 2, we mark in PowerSchool, there's a little check mark box where you can mark that they've completed a PBL or a WBL, and we can then send that spreadsheet to Robbie at Standards for Success, and he will upload it for us into Standards for Success. So then it's checked in Standards for Success. It also has the ability, like Naviance, for a student to upload a document themselves, and you can email. We love that feature in Naviance, where you can email students directly from the system. And so Standards for Success allows us to do that as well. So if a student has, for example, a work letter or a check stub, we can send them an email requesting that. So I might be in an individual one-on-one meeting with a junior and they tell me that they're working and that's their plan. And so I say, okay, so send me your next check stub through an email that I send them, and it has a link button, and they can click that link and it uploads it directly into Standards for Success. We are just beginning to use that feature. We haven't required it of everyone yet. We have 3 high schools in our corporation. So those, they're at varying levels. The middle size high school obviously is the easiest one for us to try things with. So they are trying to implement that at Charlestown High School. I guess more unilaterally than the others are at this point, but it does have the ability to do that like Naviance. If I can share my screen, I can probably show you.
That would be great, just to kind of see what the platform might look like. While you're doing that, so do students have a login where they can see progress?
No, it is only going to be from the admin side. So we created logins for all of our counselors, our principals, our IEP teachers, and then our academy coaches, so our college career coaches. So really it's only an admin tool. Students don't interact with it specifically, or at least if they have that feature, we have not tapped into it, but I don't think they do. So I am now in, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so I particularly, if I just go to my dashboard, I have access to all the schools. So I'm just going to pick one school. There are flags here where you can name the flags to do specific things. But what I really want you to see is the actual checklist. So let me get my kiddos. Here I'm only going to look at seniors. So let me just go to Adams. So this is an example of the actual checklist. And if you look at it, it looks very similar to some of the things you've shared already. So I can see that her goal for box 1 here at the top is her academic honors diploma. And when I go under box 1 here, I can even, all of these links are clickable, anything that's blue. So I can actually go in to drill down. I can see that her GPA is where it needs to be. And then this shows me a record of all the things that are counting towards her academic honors diploma. So you get a pretty quick snapshot of what she might be missing, which is a great tool. I can print this. I can run reports out of who's on track and who's not on track. So it like Naviance, it has that report feature, which is pretty powerful. But I'm going to return her grad worksheet and show you the other boxes. So this is a new post-secondary planning. They added that this year, but it does have NCAA eligibility. And they just added the STGEC core because we are a CEL-endorsed early college high school also, and offer both the associates and the STGEC. But Standards for Success has focused on the STGEC course. So that is a little more work on your part. It's not necessarily pulling everything from Power School, partly because of the way we do it in Power School. We don't have two different sections of a course, so not everyone enrolled in my English 12 honors class is getting dual credit. So that means we have to do a little more work on this side for ourselves. Here is the box 2. This one has been marked completed. Now we physically marked those, or I sent him a spreadsheet and he uploaded who had completed it. The validation ability that I talked about earlier is I can send a new request to the student by clicking here, and it will send it directly to Grace Adams, who I pulled up, and I can type a message in. There's a preloaded form that we had them upload for us. And I will give that plug to Robbie and his team at SFS. They are fairly small right now, and Indiana is one of their target states initially. So I can get an email back from Robbie in the same day. Pretty impressive for support. Can't say that was true about Naviance. But I will again plug that Naviance has a lot more features than this one does. Additional attachments. So it could be that they want to upload their resume just for me to have it, maybe to use for other things. And Robbie gives great examples of how other schools are doing it on a monthly basis and how they're using things. That's how the flags came about. Somebody suggested that we use flags. Then in box 3, this is where we have fallen in love with this program. Box 3 is really powerful. So for this particular child, we can see that she has passed her ACT requirement. So she meets it with her ACT. She is also targeting the academic honor diploma. So as is the case with most, once you meet one of those, you're probably going to meet them all. But I can also go here. I wish I'd picked a student who was trying to do a career tech ed. This is the one that we find the most powerful. So they are working to update this, even with NLPS. They're already working on NLPS. But if I select that she, for example, might want to, let's just pick accounting, and I can choose Perkins 5 or NLPS at this point. So I'm going to do Perkins 5. What courses has she taken already that might click to that, and it will give me a list of those. But I can click in here, well, maybe, there we go. And it's going to show me how many credits she's accumulated for any of these pathways. So we all know that sometimes we're flipping through that 35-page document trying to see which courses count. Well, this has done it for us. And then I'm able to, I pull this up on one screen and I go to good grief, Inter's website on the other and compare to see if things are missing. But this has made it a great check for my counselors to also say, well, you're really close to this one.
Right.
So does that class fit in your schedule? So that's in a nutshell why we love Standards for Success. It would also pull AP courses. If a student has taken AP courses, they populate down here. She might not have needed it, but had she taken AP courses, they would show up there as well.
Does Standards for Success keep track of the CTE concentrator courses, or is that something you have to keep track of in Power School?
They are matched to the state code. So in Power School, all your courses have that state code box built in the course. And so it matches it to the state course code. So they are keeping this up to date. Now we have found errors, like they were counting regular child development twice or something. I can't remember now the details. So we found errors in their system and I just email and say, hey, it looks like it's counting this twice. Sometimes if we had a missing code, it wasn't matching up right, but that helped us discover, why isn't it counting that? Oh, wait, we have the wrong code typed in. So they actually build this. So that NLPS, they worked on, as that information was being released from the DWD and Governor's Workforce Cabinet, they were updating their system for NLPS. So that is another piece, because sometimes, it's not very powerful if it's not updated. But
so can I ask a follow-up question just to backtrack? So because we have all of the systems that you have, and so I'm just trying to figure out which way is the best way to go. So I guess I was kind of surprised. I understand why you would go to SFS because it can pull directly from Power School, but yet this is still something that you, like as administrators, have to keep track of, where as if the Naviance part of it, the kids are responsible, so to speak, you know what I mean? So but you're saying that a lot of this gets populated automatically based on what's in PowerSchool. So as long as you have it in PowerSchool, then it's pulling into SFS directly for you.
Correct. So
Okay.
we would never, this is really the admin side of tracking. So you are correct. This is not going to be student empowerment necessarily, other than uploading the document as proof. But we, we wouldn't trust Naviance. Somebody would be going through and double checking and having our checklist. So
Right.
we still have this on paper also. However, the ability for it, because they're populating the coursework, and we can see, like, there was a student in this senior class at this school who we didn't realize that her SAT score had met this. And we were popping in to see, well, it showed us she was already green. And I was like, wait a minute, I didn't realize that her SAT score was that high. So I got to quit looking. She, it told me she was green. So it's automatically turning them green if it's pulling their scores from PowerSchool. Same thing true down here with your AP courses. Sometimes I hadn't thought to look to see had they completed all those AP courses. And if the course is titled as an AP course, it populates for you.
Okay. Now, I haven't watched the webinar that from PowerSchool when they were talking about how they've added, and we've recently upgraded PowerSchool. So now we have the trackers, so when you put in the diploma they're working on, so now in progress, you can put in which bucket they're in, working on. And I'll be honest, I'm just barely scraped the surface of that. But have you seen that webinar, and what were your thoughts as far as PowerSchool and the tracking of the pathways in PowerSchool? And then do you need this on top of that? Does that make sense?
I have not seen the webinar. The only piece I know is, gosh, it was probably over a year ago when PowerSchool updated the ability for you to enter whether or not they had a work-based learning or a, bucket 2 and bucket 3 information. So we ended up pulling it. I'm going to just show you the same student. To populate here. So this is where I would track whether or not they were, what Perkins they were following. And then this could be uploaded into SFS as well. So we are using that page, and I think the other one is on the Indiana tab here. I think this might be what we're talking about.
So you created that other page though. That's
yes.
A custom page.
We did, but we can enter, some of that can be entered here and it shares with that page, or I can enter it on the custom screen and it'll share with this page. So this is the only page that I know of related to graduation pathways.
Yes. Well, you can actually put it under, and maybe somebody else who's seen the webinar, and I can share it. Summer, I saw Summer asked, and I'll share it in just a second, but you put it under the grad plan selection. If you go to grad plan selection there, it was, I was playing with it the other day and I hadn't gotten there. So, well,
we don't have ours set up. We don't use the grad planner in PowerSchool.
Gotcha.
So, there's a lot of back work to it. You have to do some back work to it.
And I've watched so many course numbers in there that it was never feasible for us, because there were like 30% exceptions to it working correctly. I probably spent, I don't know, 20 hours over the years trying to set it up, and finally said, okay, this is not worth my time.
Yeah, so Whitney, there was a lot more of the back work that you have to do, and I can't remember exactly. It's been a while, and we need to update our system anyway. But there should be on the side with either graduation plan or something along those lines. Once you select it and everything's built in there properly, it should pull. But it's just the legwork and setting it up in a large spare time that I know that we're going to have to work through if we go that route. So we're still shopping, essentially, which is why we're on this webinar as well.
Whitney, do you guys have standards for success there?
That's been an option discussed with our superintendent, but he was going to watch the PowerSchool webinar as well. But we are significantly behind in our version. PA technology. So that's kind of where we're stuck at the moment.
Well, that's why I was curious about how, because I know we have SFS for our teacher evaluations. And so
So do we.
it just made me wonder, you know, should we go that route instead of Power School? And I don't know. I'm just trying to, it is such a hodgepodge. And I think, and I appreciate the luncheon just to find out how everybody is doing it, because it really is a tracking nightmare. And we are putting in like a homeroom SRT next year. So we're hoping that to do just what Summer was saying, as far as, you know, teaching other people how to fish, so to speak, so that we're not the only ones that are, and I like to empower the students. I mean, they, you know, that's what Naviance is for. But I like how SFS, you can, you know, still see it all on one page, because I'm not really sure. I feel like when we put it in Naviance or even in Power School, if it's still going to get, because it sounds like everybody's still using a Google Sheet. You know what I mean? So it's
a tracking nightmare to make sure. It's checks and balances constantly. You just takes one of those kids and you're in trouble. So.
Oh boy. So everybody's still a work in progress, aren't we all, though?
That's right.
We always.
Well, I hate to cut off such great conversation, but we have definitely gone over time. I think a few people had to drop off. So if you do need to head on, then totally understand. But just some final notes. This was our fourth of a series of 4 Lunch and Learns. I think what we're going to send out to you after, probably later today, maybe tomorrow, is a survey asking about future topics that you might want to do a similar format, and what topics would still interest you. So please feel free to include anything that comes to mind. Or if you are an expert, like we had our counselors kind of share, and I think it was a great variety of how schools are doing it. If you are an expert in a particular thing at your school, then please let us know, and we can have you help us with that first 20 minutes. We will likely take March off of the Lunch and Learn series and then do another weekly series in April. So we will send emails to everyone who registered. So you should get information when we start that up again. Thank you everyone for coming. If this was your first time, my name is Laura Tucker. I'm the Early College Coordinator at SEL, and Sandy Hillman is our Director of Early College. And so we are the ones who are co-hosting and just want to get counselors together and support all of the work that you do and introduce you to each other's work as well. Thank you again.